So let me address this question a little differently from a first-time investor's point. So if you again see the narrative that a majority of financial planners, convey, is that, if you are a first-time investor in equity, then, you look at a good large cap fund, or you try and look at a good balanced fund. I mean, this is the kind of narrative one hears. Now, if at all, therefore, I am a first-time investor, I have absolutely no flavor to equity. The important point being that the cost differential, and I'd like you to talk a little about that, the cost differential seems to be huge in investing through an index fund versus going through an active fund. So for a first-time investor, do you think if you're just, dipping your feet into equity, trying to understand it, and an index fund may be a good way to start?
As I grow older and crankier in this business, I've learned not to have a one size fit all, and I'm going to invoke Jet Airways and Reliance Communication, which went bankrupt. You see, the first decision that comes in for a first time investor is what is his or her asset mix. So, like for many years, the PPF was out of flavor. All of a sudden, it's in flavor. So, the way we guys approach it at work is always firstly carry balanced portfolios. In the equity allocation, depending on where the market is, for children, we are happy to start an index fund when they are born because we work with families. The advantage is it's actually theatrical, but it's very useful. I look at kids as my 21st, my retirement account.
Right.
But they always say, Chadha uncle, जब आप 3 साल के थे तो आपने शुरू किया. So the index fund helps them map that, their life cycle, and it teaches them. And Indians, as such, are very grossly underweight equity even today.
Yes.
And most of this money is coming after 15. So I really don't know how is it going to look 2 years down the line. But we have all the young clients that we have, the children, typically we start with an index fund. For a new client, now with the new norms, possibly it makes sense to do a top 50 or next 50 index fund. But now I'm beginning to check whether I should be in equity also for new clients. So we are actually underweighting equity allocations.
Sure.
So I hope I've answered.
So from a cost perspective, what is the difference?
Yeah, so the cost perspective is substantial. Index funds typically come in India at about 50 basis points. Actively managed funds come in at about 1.75 to 2.25%. In the US, the cost structure is 10 paisa on the S&P.
I see.
So it's very relative. If you have to buy cost, and why are you buying an Indian index fund? Why not the S&P, SPY, for example? So it's a useful input with the new norms that are coming.
But is that a very big difference over 1%? And if you're talking equity 20, 25 years, you just give examples of a parent planning for the child. Over that long period, 1% and more of a saving every year, is that a huge amount according to you? Or
so again, let me again spin this back. 8.5% in a PPF account is jolly good. How much money do you have in your PPF account? All these guys here, how many Indians have money in a PPF account? So I think, while it's an easier conversation, 1% on cost is obviously a lot of money, but how many Indians have actually held their portfolios for 25 years?
Sure.
So, over a nice coffee, it's useful, but when markets are crashing, let me see how many people will want to stay in an index fund. So, cost is useful, absolutely, but it also has to be tempered with the risk profile first, and the cost then comes in. If the market has fallen 25% and I'm sitting in a debt fund, the cost advantages become irrelevant.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.